Hello, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all in today's online seminar and workshop. We are excited to be joined by audiences from different parts of the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. My name is Shaukat Ali Khan, and I'm the Chief Information Officer here at the University of Central Asia. We are delighted to be co-hosting today along with our friends at the National Information Society Agency of Korea, State Committee for Information Technology and Communications, Kyrgyz Republic, the International Academy of CIO, the World Bank, and UNDP. Thank you all those involved in making today happen. We are really pleased to have such a strong network of partners that are all working to the benefit of the people of Central Asia. The program is designed to support the Kyrgyz Republic to better understand, identify, monitor, and respond effectively to cyber threats. We also hope to learn from today how to develop regional leadership capacity in digital resilience. On behalf of all the hosts, I hope you are all doing well in these unprecedented times. Without any further delay, let us begin with the opening remarks from all our partners. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Yoon Seok Koo, Vice President of National Information Society Agency of Korea.
Good morning and good afternoon and good evening.
Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Yoon Seok Koo, and as introduced, I'm a Vice President of National Information Society Agency in Korea, and I'm in charge of Global ICT Cooperation Department, and I welcome all of you to this online workshop. It has already passed a year since the outbreak of COVID-19. As we all know, or some of us unfortunately already experienced, COVID-19 pandemic changed everybody's daily life all over the world. Nowadays, we have to wear masks wherever we go. We have to keep social distance with people all the time. If we look at the global economy, so many businesses are shut down already. Especially self-employed businesses suffer greatly. Therefore, so many workers lost their jobs. They have no choice but relying on government subsidy. But in this week, we heard some good news. Vaccines for COVID-19 are developed, and some countries approved and already started vaccinated. I think and I really hope this COVID-19 pandemic will be over very soon. However, we have to be prepared for another COVID-19 like pandemic. We don't know when and where it will strike next in the future. Therefore, it is very important for us to be united and respond jointly against any kind of pandemic. In today's workshop, we share what and how the Korean government did against this COVID-19 pandemic. I really hope it will help you have new or better ideas when you have to fight against any kind of pandemic situation. And if I go, I would like to give special thanks to everybody who works very hard and contribute their all efforts for this event happening. And I really thank you very much, and thank you very much all. And I really hope stay healthy always. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Koo. I now invite Professor Dr. Offred, President of International Academy of CIO, to say a few words.
Thank you, Shaukat, and thank you everyone for joining tonight. We greatly appreciate being part of the program and helping to, in a small way, organize, and greatly appreciate the partnership with University of Central Asia, World Bank, UNDP, the National Information Society Agency of Korea, as well as the State Committee of ICT of Kyrgyzstan. Just a brief note about International Academy of CIO. We were founded in 2005, have about 50 country chapters now, and have a focus on ICT education and the development of ICT institutions. We publish annual digital government rankings. We have an accreditation program for master's degrees, as well as an annual conference, and are active in current research in ICT, for example, in the areas of age and society and applying ICT to national disasters. One note on today's program that I think is quite relevant is Korea's efforts and other countries' efforts many years in advance of the pandemic to build digital resiliency and to foster digital government. I think that's one thing we'll see is how Korea has applied and be able to utilize what they've done over the years, as well as apply the lessons from previous epidemics and pandemics to this current situation. So thank you all for joining, and thank you all for your partnership.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Offred. Now let me metaphorically pass the mic to Mr. Naveed Hassan Naqvi, World Bank Country Manager for the Kyrgyz Republic, for his welcome remarks. Mr. Naveed, just unmute your speaker, and then you can start your welcome remarks.
Great. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure on behalf of the World Bank to welcome you here at an online workshop to discuss the Korean experience of digital response to COVID-19 and how to apply it in the Kyrgyz Republic. As this is a very important topic, earlier this year, the World Bank hosted a number of webinars on leveraging the power of digital technologies to tackle COVID-19. I'd like to thank the National Information Society Agency of Korea, the Korea World Bank Partnership Facility, for making this virtual event possible. I'd also like to thank our partners, the State Committee of IT and Communications, the University of Central Asia, International Academy of Chief Information Officers, and the United Nations Development Program for their support. I'd like to welcome distinguished international and Korean experts to this event. Korea is widely regarded as a global leader in digital resilience and cybersecurity, and an evolving success story in terms of its effective digital response to COVID-19. With so many promising vaccines on the horizon, government leaders and all of us need to prepare for post-COVID recovery. So it is great to see that in today's discussion, Korean partners will address important topics related to the preparedness for the post-COVID-19 era. I'm certain that the smart city educational transformation and smart work concepts are highly relevant for the Kyrgyz Republic. Today's workshop is part of a capacity building series under the Digital Resilience Program, which aims to strengthen the Kyrgyz Republic's government capacity to respond effectively to cyber threats, manage digital risks, and develop a regional leadership in digital resilience, including cybersecurity, business continuity, and personal data protection. The World Bank supports digital transformation processes in Central Asia and the Kyrgyz Republic through the implementation of the regional Digital CASA program. Other participants in this program are Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. The Digital CASA regional program aims to expand access to more affordable internet, attract private investment, and increase the ability of participating governments to provide digital government services in Central Asia. Earlier this year, the Digital Resilience Technical Assistance Program was initiated, and with support from the Korea World Bank Partnership Facility to strengthen implementation and cyber resilience of Digital CASA. COVID-19 is dramatically accelerating digital transformation across the world. Recent data shows that the world has jumped forward 5 years in terms of digital adoption in the space of 8 weeks in the initial post-COVID era. It's becoming increasingly clear that countries that invested in a national broadband infrastructure and whose citizens and businesses are connected through digital platforms are advancing and responding to this crisis much better than others. COVID-19 pandemic has raised concerns about the ability to provide services without disruption while ensuring cybersecurity and data privacy. These concerns for both private and public entities have been highlighted across the world. Digital leaders such as South Korea have proven that it is possible to contain COVID, secure economic prosperity through a combination of informed leadership, trust, integrity, and investment into resilience. There is a pathway out of this global crisis, and the digital transformation is part of the answer. Central Asian countries need to adequately address the fast-growing digital threats and risks. In the Kyrgyz Republic during the COVID-19 pandemic, both public and private sector organizations are facing issues in ensuring continuity, privacy, and security of services. To overcome these issues, we need a strong political will and a multi-stakeholder partnership, including government, business, academia, and civil society, as well as all development partners. In this regard, I would like to note the importance of our emerging partnership with the Koreans and other important organizations represented here on the digital resilience agenda and within the Digital CASA project. To conclude, COVID is a wake-up call for all of us. The message is clear: safeguarding digital opportunities and helping countries achieve sustainable development goals requires investments in digital resilience. This will take international collaboration and innovative public-private partnerships. We in the World Bank stand ready as partners to all governments and societies to help achieve these goals. We have a very impressive lineup of speakers, and I personally look forward to attending the whole event and learning from all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Naveed. Mr. Altanbek Ismailov, Chairman of the State Committee for Information Technology and Communications, will now say a few words.
Thank you, Shaukat. Dear ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me thank for this wonderful event, the World Bank, Korea World Bank Partnership Facility, UNDP, University of Central Asia, and in particular, National Information Society Agency of Korea and International Academy of CEO for hosting this important event that would essentially help Kyrgyz Republic to navigate in a digital world on how to build digital resilience here in Kyrgyzstan. We have talked a lot about COVID and how digital resilience is important during the pandemic, but as we are seeing a way out through vaccines that already have been mentioned, one thing is clear for sure. We need to build digital resilience for the country so that this type of shocks like pandemics or others would not let us out from our usual business processes, from the government's work and the services we provide to our citizens. I think challenges were a lot. Government and businesses had to face their own challenges in terms of building their continuity and building their resilience. But one thing is for sure, COVID has struck down everyone in the world. In order to overcome the challenges, one thing that we could do is just to host this type of events and talk about our successes and failures and what we could do together in order to overcome the challenges that we are facing. We know from Korea, and this is very important that we are having this event in partnership with Korea, is that Korea has excellent track of controlling the COVID pandemic. We know that that with all of the design, with the integration of technology, some rules, and some cooperation between government, businesses, and citizens, overall this system worked well in order to stop the increase of the number of COVID cases, but also it ensured continuity of operations of different sites. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity for the Kyrgyz Republic, for everyone who is in this seminar, to learn more about Korean experience. I really look forward to work with Korean partners even more, and I hope that the seminar will have a very good effect on the future of technology here in Kyrgyzstan. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ismailov. I now invite Professor Dr. Syed Suhail Hussain Naqvi, the Rector of University of Central Asia, to aid his welcome.
Thank you, Shaukat. Dear colleagues, it's a real pleasure to have this opportunity to welcome all of you to this excellent seminar, and especially colleagues from the World Bank, UNDP, and the International Association of CIOs, and then most definitely our Korean colleagues who are taking this time to share their experiences with us. Of course, here in Kyrgyzstan, we have our partners, the State Committee on IT, but now upgraded to the ministerial level partnership in IT. As I was thinking about my remarks, I was and had formulated them, I thought it may be best to think that instead of a human, a bot is speaking, because I want to take the human aspect and put it to the side a little bit and look at the software and IT aspect of that. You think of that from a software testing point of view. This COVID pandemic has been perhaps one of the greatest opportunity to do a stress test on your systems for everything. And it is particularly relevant for the University of Central Asia, because we are a university located in 4 countries and located in far-flung areas. We have operations in northern Afghanistan, we have operations in the smaller cities of Kazakhstan, but in the mountain communities of Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan. So in any case, for us, digital resilience is a reality experienced on a daily basis, not only from a business process point of view, but also from an educational perspective, and hence our particular interest in learning as much as possible about this and serving as a resource and to work in partnership with the government of Kyrgyzstan, especially, and also the other respective governments of Central Asia, to serve as a repository of information and to play the role that a university is supposed to be playing. We look at the past events and think about the possibility that how do you convert this catastrophe into an opportunity. Certainly, the toll has been high, but the contraction of time in terms of IT adoption and the possibility that you can actually use these events as an accelerator to get out in a hurry ahead of the world in terms of your response, whether it is conversion to digital payments, attention to cyber security, or the fact that you can get all of these services out and question the very basics of many of the ways of doing things. I mean, why are we doing things in a particular way, and what is it that we can actually accomplish through the use of digital technologies. So, as I said, keeping the human tragedy aspect to a side from a technical perspective, there is a phenomenal opportunity to accelerate out, and especially for countries like Kyrgyzstan, with its huge youth bulge available, an enormous resource that can power the country forward. So it is excellent to have this pool of expertise available to call on, to assist. And we assure you that the University of Central Asia will be there to serve as a repository, as an experimenter, and as a partner in this excellent initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Naqvi. I now invite Louise Chamberlain, UNDP resident representative to the Kyrgyz Republic. And as today is her birthday, so happy birthday, Louise. May this day brings a lot of happiness, peace, and success in your life. Please say a few words.
Thank you, Shaukat. That's a surprise. You're well informed. And I think this seminar is going to be a very good birthday present. Mr. Ismailov, Mr. Naqvi, distinguished professors and experts, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of UNDP, United Nations Development Program, I'm really glad to join this event to learn about Korea's digital approach to combating the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think, as has already been mentioned, the Republic of Korea is, of course, a long recognized leader in empowering millions of its citizens into a digital future. And this famous pandemic posed a lot of disruptions to people's lives, but it also opened a lot of new opportunities. And I think that's what Professor Naqvi was just explaining. We need to look at how can we use them and what can be accomplished digitally. So this investment in a digital transformation that has to chart the way forward, in my view, for acceleration beyond recovery. From UNDP's point of view, we aim to embrace existing and emerging digital technology in all aspects of our work to better serve our partners in their efforts, which are the member states, to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Through this process of scanning, testing, and scaling relevant technologies, we are able to use digital channels to address new and complex demand in development. And the complexity is ever growing, as we know. And also to pursue experience-led innovation in collaboration with governments, civil society, and private sector. So this is intended to help our partners become increasingly agile and effective in eradicating poverty and accelerating structural transformation. Let me take this opportunity to mention how much we value the partnership that we enjoy with the State Committee of ICT, the World Bank and UCA and other partners in this initiative of digital resilience. And so in shaping recovery from socioeconomic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, UNDP is helping governments across the globe to strengthen interaction with citizens. There's two-way communication, if you will. And digital skills is a really important element in helping citizens gain access to improved services. Entrepreneurs will need skills to make use of digital payment platforms and e-commerce systems to improve the potential of their businesses. Enhanced digital financing platforms can improve the vital flow of remittances into development and many other similar solutions. Today is not only my birthday, it's also the International Human Rights Day, which globally marks the end of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, which is why I'm wearing this little orange thing. And in the first quarter of this year, cases of domestic gender-based violence in the Kyrgyz Republic increased by 65% compared to previous years. To stem this trajectory, UNDP together with UNICEF conducted an online hackathon in May this year in Kyrgyzstan. So we brought together programmers and designers and representatives of crisis centers to look at solutions to mitigate the effects of violence in quarantine. Within 48 hours, we had 53 developers who came up with 18 IT products that help children and women who are in a difficult life situation. And these winning solutions, we supported financially for prototyping and experimentation. And these solutions are now out there helping people. So this event mobilized the best intellectual and innovative resources to tackle the issues that related to isolation and violence. And it was an interesting example of how digital platforms can be used to support civic activism. It helped the IT community to engage in this response, and it triggered a change in the mindset of many participants to think ahead beyond recovery. And recently in Uzbekistan, we supported the government to conduct a corruption risk assessment in the health sector to mitigate integrity risks during the crisis. In many countries of the region, we are developing similar platforms to strengthen transparency and access to information for people. And a few weeks ago, the UN system organizations recently, we issued a joint statement on data protection and privacy in support of more privacy protective use of data and technology. The UN's efforts in digital transformation are very much anchored to the values of the Charter of the United Nations and on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is an ever young 72-year-old today. It's vital that we integrate new technologies into the SDGs, into the ways of coming up with solutions to achieve SDGs with equality and equity as the guiding principles. So in conclusion, I also want to reaffirm the continuing support of UNDP in Kyrgyzstan to the digital resilience agenda and the response to the socioeconomic impacts of COVID-19 in particular. And looking forward very much to learn today from the Korean experience and for all of us as partners to gain a better understanding of solutions that can effectively be taken to scale. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chamberlain. And once again, let me express our gratitude to all our partners. Let us now move on the first session of the day, Korea's response to COVID-19. This session will introduce Korea's approach and best practices in combating the COVID-19 pandemic. It will highlight Korean policy measures based on public-private partnership and present examples of digital resilience using the example of government services. Discussing these topics, we will have Professor Hoon Sang Lee from Yonsei University, followed by Hye Young Lim from NIA, and then Dr. Sang Hoon Lee, Managing Director of KAIA. We will then have some time for your questions before we break. Professor Hoon Sang Lee.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind introductions. In my presentation, I will try to go over the overall response, not just digital response, but overall response, including the digital response as well, responding to the COVID-19 situation in Korea. So the COVID-19 had been truly a pandemic that had gone around the globe full circle. And it is even now coming back to Korea in the way form of a third wave as well. So this is truly a global pandemic. And compared to the initial phase, right now we are experiencing the situation not just in Asia, but in America and Europe and in other continents as well. As for Korea, Korea had been doing quite well. Initially, there had been first wave around February and early March, which had been reduced. And then there had been a second wave in August that we had experienced. Lately, we are in the phase that we are experiencing third wave, but we will have to see how things will go on. But overall, we have quite a good records of about 30,000 confirmed cases and around 500 cases of the mortality. One of the hallmark of the Korean response will be the fast response of the Korean government. We have 4 different levels of the emergency level to respond to the infectious disease situations. You can see that right after Korea was informed about the situation in China, in January 3rd, they raised the level to level 1. By end of the January, they raised the level to level 2. And then the level was raised by February, and by March, they were in full force in level 4. So the decision was very quick and very swift. And overall, the Korean response can be described in 5 phases. So responding to the cases with fast and accurate epidemiology investigations and early detections with the expansion of diagnostic testings and large scale screening, and also treatment of the COVID-19 cases with the patient classifications and bed allocations. And so these 3 parts are usually explained as 3T, testing, tracing, testing, and treatment. And then there was the aspect of quarantine at the point of entry and also treatment of non-COVID-19 patients as well. In terms of overall governance, at the level of level 4 crisis alert level, the hallmark of the Korean response was the whole of government approaches. So it was at the highest level, it was headed by the prime ministers, which also with the Ministry of Health and Welfare and with the Ministry of Interior and Safety. So with the Ministry of Health and Welfare and Korea CDC responding to the disease situations, with the ministry, with the Prime Minister as a head, with the Ministry of Interior and Safety as leading the pan-government countermeasure support. So it enabled all of other ministries also to take a part. So it was truly, it is currently is quite of a whole of government approaches. It includes the very close communication with the local government as well. So with this level, there had been a first case of the situations in January 19th, and it quickly escalated. And by February 18th, there was the first case with the Shincheonji religious clusters. And then we could see there had been the true first wave, which raised the level, crisis alert level to the red, which is level 4. At this time, actually, one of the things that we can notice is the rapid extension of the testing throughout the country. And also, there had been some of the response with the living treatment centers, which enable the fast treatment capacity expansions. And there was from the government, especially at the Korea CDC was operating the emergency operating centers, which was the headquarters of overseeing all of the situation in Korea about the infectious disease situations. And it was actually very important to expand the testing cases from the very beginning. So the effort began very early in January, and then later, Korea was able to achieve the maximum daily capacity of testing, averaging 15,000 to maximum 20,000 capacity with a turnaround time of 16 to 24 hours, with a testing institution of about 118 place laboratories for testing, which enabled very fast confirmation of the testing cases. And this testing was possible because there had been a process of the emergency use authorizations, which enabled the testing kit commercialization very fastly, so that about 4 commercial testing kits was in the market by end of January, early February, which enabled about 100 of the private laboratory and private university hospital to be able to purchase those kits and enable the very widespread presence of the testing service as well. And this was enhanced by the drive-through approaches, which enabled the much faster collection of the samples and which enabled much safer testing as well. but this was actually enabled by some of the use of the ICT technologies with there had been a service for finding the nearby screening centers. So people were able to quickly find where they can be sampled and tested. And also the government also shared the list of the national security hospital where they can be tested and treated for the COVID-19 disease situations. And also the Korean government actually was very serious about using of the mask in the public, and there had been publicly distributed face mask information service provided on the internet. And also with the contact tracing strategy, it was very traditional strategy of the investigation, risk assessment, and contact classification and contact management. But one of the hallmark was use of the informations with the location information from the mobile phone location information and credit card transaction log, and the use of the CCTV information as well, which enabled faster contact tracing. And then later, the information was shared to the general public through the text messaging. And also there had been some of the private efforts to develop a map of locating where the outbreak is, occurrence of the confirmed cases happening quite in the real time. Later, the Korean government developed the COVID-19 epidemiological investigation supporting system, which is called EISS, which actually enabled a much faster process of locating the confirmed cases, especially the movement information as well. Later, with the data visualization process of the geographic movement informations. So before actually the process was even quite fast, which took about 24 hours to track the movement of the confirmed case. But with the introduction of this information system, which was based on the previously developed smart city platform, it enabled the whole process from the 24 hours to be 10 minutes. It was also possible to track the incoming travelers' cases. Since MERS outbreak, there was a smart quarantine information system which tracked the travelers with roaming data information. So whenever any travelers coming into Korea is using the Korean telecom service, the information was shared to the Korea CDC and then to National Health Insurance Body. So at the hospital, physicians were able to identify patients who are from any of the outbreak striking countries. And there had been quite extensive quarantine and special immigration procedure flow that had been enhanced as well, especially with the use of the self-health check mobile app as well at the entry of the Korea. And there had been also testing service at the airport as well. And this is the quarantine observation facility, which was actually provided in the airport facilities, near the airport facilities. After the people coming to Korea also, there also with the close contact cases, people are to be quarantined for 14 days. Then there was the use of the app for monitoring those quarantined patients. And also for the quarantined patients, there had been use of there have been cases of use of AI to make a AI-based phone call to check everyday status of the confirmed patients. Another aspect is also the government was actually very swift in providing guidelines for treatments and management of the confirmed cases as well. And this was actually an example of the living treatment center, which was a non-hospital facility to secure the confirmed patients who were less severe. And overall, there has been very strong social distancing campaign, which was followed by the Korean citizens quite well. Especially there had been mandatory mask wearing policy which was actually many of the Korean citizens were actually abiding by it very strictly. And in the beginning, there was a 3 level of the social distancing, and then later it was divided into the all over 5 level with the 1.5 and 2.5 level aided. Currently, we are in the 2.5 level in the Seoul city. And in the school, there had been various measures for the online education and social distancing in the school. And currently, many of the facilities are using the QR-based check-in to enhance contact tracing just in case. And overall, Korea was identified as a country which are using the one of the most of the different types of contact tracing tool. Many of the countries are using either 2 types of the contact tracing tool or 3 types. But what Korea was actually the only country which is currently using 4 different type of contact tracing measure. But with this, actually, many of the private information actually are revealed from the multiple different sources. And this actually also enable faster contact tracing, but also raises some of the issues as well. But overall, Korea was able to respond with the minimum restrictions, with the strong public participations, and with the universal health coverage system in place, and very good cooperation in the central and local government, and there had been use of the innovative and creative measures utilizing cutting-edge technologies as well. And 10 of the practices had been showcased as 10 best practice for various disease control measure. And with this, Korea had been in the situation where there had been quite suppressed confirmed case situations with a very low case fatality rate. Overall, Korea's experience was really possible with the testing, tracing, and isolate and treat approaches with the help of the national insurance, and social distancing and mask policy was very effective. And one of the hallmark is use of the innovative solution and very strong widespread use of the ICT. But overall, I think the Korean government was able to succeed in the situation with the timely policy decisions and rapid and bold execution of any of the decided policy. And again, Korea learned actually extensively from the 2000 MERS outbreak, and many of the changes that happened since MERS outbreak was very helpful, especially with the reorganization of Korea CDC with the Emergency Operations Center establishment, and also with the expanding the response capacity of the EIS officer and their capacity. But one very important aspect is the legal and administrative measure in place with the emergency use authorization, which enabled very fast commercial kit availability for the testing kits, but also with the change in the Infectious Disease Control and Prevention Act and the Personal Information Protection Act changes that happened in since 2015 MERS outbreak actually enabled use of the mobile technologies and use of the data for the contact tracings. But this comes with some of the issue of the data privacy. So I think the issue is how we can balance between the individual data privacy right and the overall public safety. So I think it is not an easy solution, but it will be quite of a balancing act between these two values. Currently, Korea is entering the 3rd wave. So there are just as many of the countries, and there are many of the vaccines that are both developed in Korea and also being considered in Korea to import. So we will see how the Korean situation will fare on with the continuing situation of the COVID-19 in Korea. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, now Heo-jung Lim from NIA, sorry.
Okay, hi, good afternoon. This is Heo-jung Lim. It's a great pleasure meeting you all. So today, I'd like to share in particular how Korean government has responded to COVID-19 by releasing and utilizing of open data. So here are my contents of the presentation of today. So before we jump into the COVID-19 open data part, let us briefly look at the clear definition of open data and the data governance framework of Korea as well. So open data is data created and retained by the government, municipal organization, and public organization available to the public. So, and obviously open data should be machine readable. So if it's in PDF file or Word or PPT file, it's not an open data. And there are 4 distinctive bodies in the Open Data Governance Framework of Korea. Open Data Strategy Council, which is a deliberating body under the Prime Minister and co-chaired by the private representative. And the Ministry of the Interior and Safety, the leading ministry on the National Open Data Plan, and NIA. And there's also an Open Data Mediation Committee as well. And now let us have a look on Korean National Data Portal. So you see this small computer screen on the bottom left. So this is our national data portal. And I'm sure the English version of this portal should be already by the end of the year. So you may check out later. So government of Korea has released key data sets related to COVID-19 as an issue data to our national data portal. So by categorizing them into 4 areas, overall status, mass data, and public welfare support data, and daily life data. So in the overall status, since the early stage outbreak of COVID-19, we have been releasing important data such as status of COVID-19 by location, age, and sex, and the list of screening centers and national security hospitals that Dr. Lee has already mentioned in his slide. And for the mass data, I'll be discussing in details in the next slide. And daily life data include e-learning materials and publicly open courses of university and lifelong education courses and safety information of countries as well. So it is very important for the government to provide information as data, open data to be exact, and then private sector use and utilize the data to develop useful services for citizens quickly. Now I'll be discussing the process for releasing sales of mass data in chronological order. And I think I should be giving a little explanation on the background of this mask issue. So there was growing concerns over face mask shortage in this March, and the Korean government adopted diverse measures to secure mask supplies for the citizens, like 5-day rotation face mask distribution system as one of them. So under this system, purchases are limited to 2 masks per person each week and available only through public retail platforms and on designated days of the week, depending on the birth year. And the 5-day rotation face mask distribution system rolled out on March 9 allowed people to buy a face mask through the public retail platforms, such as government designated pharmacies and post offices and Mart stores. And we no longer operate the system since we entered like quite stable phase in securing the supply of masks. And now let us get back to the mask data. The very first idea of releasing open data related to COVID-19, including the mask data, was proposed in Gwanghwamun First Avenue that you are watching right now. So this is an online platform where members of the public can offer up ideas concerning politics or new policies that they hope the government will consider. And the government immediately responded to the idea proposed by the civic hackers, and public-private task force was established right next day. So there was a series of online and offline meetings with public and private sector, and we have eventually reached a solution, releasing the mass sales data. The system mechanism and detailed process for releasing sales of masks. So here, Health Insurance Review and Assessment Service, known as HIRA, where deals with the National Health Insurance System in Korea, released mask sales data, which contains code of mask sellers and quantity of warehousing, and number of mask sales to NIA. Then we repackaged this data with the adding inventory segmentation with displaying mask availability using 4 different colors, and then provided as an open API format via Naver Cloud, which is the largest search engine in Korea. And Naver Cloud business such as KT and Kyrgyzstan and HM provide data API server and development environment for programming for stable service to run. And this is to solve traffic problems that might have caused due to the public's great attention. And this is so successful public-private partnership case where all stakeholders have participated from the very beginning of the stage and thus were able to fully leverage the capacity and professional solutions that private sector has. And during this moment, about 150 apps and web services were developed. So you see this cell phone, and this is an actual example of the mask map service developed by the private sector. It is shown as color green, yellow, red, and gray, depending on the sales quantity and circumstances of sales place. So since the launch of the mask map service, like issues like upsurge in prices in masks and long queues for purchase had gradually stabilized and reducing civil complaints from both citizens and the sellers as well. And this is another example of ICT services developed by the private sector. So this is an example of self-diagnosis applications. It's where like users put their information and symptoms and medical history. Then the app provides patient's severity and tells if or she has to be screened or not. And this is the screening centers that Professor Lee has already mentioned, so I'll just skip it. And also, this is an example of citizens' voluntary use of open data. And this movement path app, this is a service that enables users to check the movement path of the confirmed and displaying the information on the web. Then what aspect of Korea made all this possible, enabling us to provide right government data in the right time? So first, we have been supporting stable IT infrastructure prepared for release and share of open data. Through data portals, we release open data in the format of API to enable immediate and convenient use. And in addition, inauguration and operation of consultative body that we call named PASTA was very helpful as well. It's a consultative body of local club business in Korea. And then we also have collaborating process with the government as well. So also central government and ministries have human resources and department for the open data task. And we have a very organized community of them as well. So online and offline community of government official who is in charge of open data was very highly effective way of communicating and collaborating in this unexpected crisis. And last but definitely not the least, we are collaborating with the citizens and business as well. Since 2017, we have been operating Open Data Forum, which is a communication platform with the citizens. And we have been also implementing joint project for supporting business where we support for people who want to start their data business. And that would be all for my presentation today. And I believe we have an additional Q&A session followed by the next presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me later on. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jong Lim. Just to remind you, there is a Q&A section in the Zoom, and there are some questions. So the respective speakers, if you would like to answer there, that's also fine. And for all the participants, you're welcome to post your questions there so that we can direct them to the respective speakers. And now I would like to invite Dr. Sang-Hon Lee, Managing Director of KAIA.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Hello. According to the program, I am supposed to start my presentation at 13:35, but it's already passed. So I try to be as brief as possible. And my name is Sang-Hon Lee, Managing Director of KAIA, Korea Agency for Infrastructure Technology Advancement. And Korean government's digital system includes a number of measures, out of which I would like to focus on the COVID-19 contact tracing system. Okay. And this is the content of my presentation. Anyhow, I will be providing a short background of the development of CTS and main concept of smart city and operating structure of the system. The COVID-19 CTS contact tracing system conducts an epistemological investigation, which is essential activities need to be done to prevent the spread of infectious disease like COVID-19, according to the Act on the Prevention of Infectious Disease in Korea. The system enabled the automation of the investigation process through real-time analysis of a confirmed patient's location information and credit card transaction history. As a result, the system shortens the investigation time from more than 24 hours to less than 10 minutes. The system is also called COVID-19 Smart Management System in Korea. Due to the limited presentation time, the introduction video from the, okay, I skipped. The system is developed from National Smart City R&D program, which is managed by KAIA. As many patients of COVID-19 confirmed in Daegu, which is also the test bed of Smart City R&D program, the work burden of epistemological investigators were exploded, and the necessity of early use of the Smart City Data Hub that can quickly and accurately analyze huge amount of data was raised. In response, we discussed on the use of the Data Hub on February 24th with the researchers and the government, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, and began to develop the system. The development of system was finished on March 16th, and after the pilot operation for 10 days, the system officially started to be operated on March 26th by Korean Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, KCDC. When we are going back to the first, the amendment of the Act on the Prevention of Infectious Disease after MERS in 2015 was enabled the use of the information from confirmed cases. KAIA is managing National Smart City R&D program, and its main target is to develop standardized open data hub architecture, which will be the common basis to apply transparent and shared administrative services and facilitate digital economy. The program is planned from 2018 to 2022. It is supported by Ministry of Science and ICT and managed by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport. Also, more than 120 researching organizations are participating in the program. This program includes the creation of smart city in terms of testbed in Daegu and Sihung. As mentioned before, in late February, COVID-19 confirmed patients of Daegu were sharply increased due to a crowded religious gathering, Shincheonji. The National Smart City R&D program has been conceptually designed based upon a three-layered framework of smart cities structured with physical infrastructure, cyber system like a data hub, and social service layer. Data integration and interoperability will be critical to make this frame work interactively between physical structure and cyber system to come up with social services and solutions for the benefit of cities. Data Hub will play a leading role in implementing a data-driven smart city model, connecting data from various fields of city domains to be analyzed and processed for efficient city management and social services, and finally contributing to solve various urban problems and provide companies with business opportunities. Data Hub, the core smart city technology, can store, manage, and analyze the variety of different data sets coming from each silo, such as mobility, energy, environment, etc. You can supply the multiple solutions as open API by using stored and analyzed data sets. The architecture model of Data Hub has been developed through the National R&D program, which will be standardized globally, I hope. We have collaborated with the EU fireware platforms since 2019, and the prototype of this architecture will be customized for Daegu and Seong in 2021. This is the operating structure of the system, CTS system. When a confirmed case is occurred, investigators of KCDC or local governments request related data to the system. The system requests the approval for the data use to the National Police Agency, NPA, and the Credit Finance Association, CREFIA. After the approval by two entities, the request is notified to 3 telecom companies and 22 credit card companies. And the companies send primitive details to epistemology investigators of KCDC through the system. All this process, such as request, approval, data providing, analysis, and verification, is operated by the system. And the core of the system is smart city data hub, which can collect, process, and analyze a huge amount of data. Sorry. I have some more content to present. Investigation process is performed by the officers, those who verify, edit, and finalize details based on the interview with patients. Then epistemological network analysis is conducted. After analysis, the system manages epistemology investigation, and the investigators verifies again the result of analysis based on their interview. All this process, such as request, approval, data providing, analysis, and verification, is operated by the system. And the core of the system is, okay, I told you already. There are lots of paperwork to get approval and data from various agencies and companies, the number of which is 28 in total. The system makes this process automatic and shorten investigation time dramatically. One important point is that not all officials here can access, but only authorized epistemological investigators by KCDC have the right of access for the purpose of personal information protection. The advantages of the system is the accuracy, the agility, and the efficiency. In terms of efficiency, investigation time shortened from more than, as I told you, more than 20 hours to 10 minutes. Actually, it takes about 2 to 3 minutes to analyze it by the system. Also, lots of paperwork with respect to 28 organizations and companies is changed to contemporize the record. Due to this efficient real-time system, Korea was able to counterwork the mass expansion of the confrontation. There are some more slides left that I prepared, but those are largely related to implication and in terms of smart city, etc. So I would like to leave those issues for second session's discussion. Okay, this is end of my presentation, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sang Hoon Lee. And thank you to all the speakers, Professor Hoon Sang Lee and Hoi Jang Lin from NIA. I think it's very, very interesting discussions and very, very informative information we have received. We have a couple of minutes for question answers, and we do have some questions on the QA box. So I will just post them, and then one of you can answer. One of the questions is testing free of charge, or how much does it cost per item?
So, okay, so maybe I can answer. So as long as it is recommended by the doctor, it is free of charge. But at the moment in the Seoul city, the Seoul city is actually, as long as you are giving your mobile phone information, the city of Seoul is trying to give the testing for free because there is quite a rapid increase in the case again. But overall, what it means by free is actually it will be covered by the national insurance.
Thank you very much. Another question is, WHO declares that best time to prevent the next pandemic is now. how countries, including Korea, are sharing and integrating different technologies with other countries, particularly with underdeveloped countries, to prevent widespread pandemic.
Okay, I'll be in charge of answer to your question, but I don't know if it is right or wrong. Korea is developing actually the K quarantine ICT solution integrated package with a CTS system. It means that a QR code registry system and self-quarantine safety application will be integrated through the package with the CTS system. And this advanced system can be easily applied as it has been developed to collect location information if the country has only mobile phone-based stations. That's very important. Your question is concerning time, because the pandemic is in front of us. So, Korea is ready to help for the countries concerned in terms of the ICT-based responding system. Thank you.
Okay.
Just to add just one more comment, one of the things that maybe can be suggested, I think, is maybe overall data sharing framework. Maybe if not globally, maybe starting with countries in Asia, including Asia Pacific and Central Asia as well, so that if there can be some kind of rules and regulation that enables more efficient data sharing among many of the different countries, while utilizing some of the latest technologies, IT platform, I think that kind of arranged framework between multiple countries, at least in the continental level, maybe that is one of the aspects that can enable the situation.
Thank you very much. Can I request our distinguished speakers to answer a couple of more questions in the QA section live, because you can just respond and then answer so that we can continue the other session at the same time. Thank you very much. After an inspiring session one, we will start the session 2 now. I am pleased now to invite 4 speakers to share with us their perspectives on preparedness for post-COVID-19. We will first hear from Dr. Jongsun Hwang from NIA, who will talk to us about the development of Smart City of NIA. Dr. Myonga Hung, also from NIA, will then talking to us about Korea's Digital New Deal, one of the 3 pillars of Korea's recently introduced post-COVID initiatives to build a resilient economy. We will then hear from Sang-Yeon Jang from Korea Education and Research Information Services as he discusses education transformation. Jeong Kim from NIA will then share a view on smart work innovation post-COVID. Following these speakers, we will break for questions before drawing the event to close. Over to you, Dr. Jongsun Hwang.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you.
Okay, great. So I will open my presentation. Okay. Thank you for bringing me here, and thank you for your interest in Korea. So I now find we have many Korean experts, and especially experts from NIA, my agency. I'm going to talk about smart city and its contribution to resilience, especially in COVID-19 crisis. So as you all know, Korea has showed good performance in fighting against the COVID-19, even though recently we have the second surge, third surge of cases. So one of the one of the reasons behind the Korea's good performance was our lessons from MERS outbreak in 2015. So it was the first hit to Korea by how to say a virus pandemic. So in the first place, Korea was hit very seriously, but soon we get some lessons and we successfully stopped the spread of MERS. So in that experience, we realized some lessons, including the value of open data, and finally the value of balanced approach between personal privacy and the public interest. So before MERS, most Koreans thought personal privacy was the most important value, but we realized that in some cases we need to allow to use personal data to prevent this how to say virus spread. Another factor that helped Korea to cope with a pandemic successfully is smart city. In order to understand how smart city contribute to help Korea to fight against the COVID-19, we need to think about the very basic concept of smart city. So in traditional sense, a smart city was defined as a city with many advanced technology, including ICT and data analytics. But we need new understanding when we fight against many crises, including COVID-19. So this case shows shows the value of new understanding of smart cities. So there's two types of mobile phone. One is a feature phone, the other one is a smartphone. The biggest difference between these two are openness versus a closed system. So feature phone was a closed system, so users cannot add or change it to their mobile phone. But the smartphone's value is its openness. So users can add and users can use their smartphone for many different purposes. So smart city need to work like that in order to cope against many crises. We don't know what kind of crisis we will face in the future. So we didn't know we will have COVID pandemic crisis in 2020. So we don't know. So in order to make a city quickly respond to crisis and the crisis and so many difficult problems, we need to separate so city as a platform layer and so solution layer. So if we don't have a platform layer, then we need to develop each solution after some crisis has come to us. Then it is too late. It will take a long time to develop a new system or new tools from scratch. But if we have common platform that can help us to quickly develop so our solution was responses, then we can very effectively fight against any crisis, including COVID-19 pandemic. So this is the concept that is called smart city as a platform concept. So this kind of concept help us Korea to very successfully fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. So in the previous presentation, Dr. Lee Sang-hoon very explained about data of a project in detail. So the Korea government have developed the data platform for years. And we didn't know we will use this data hub as the basis for our tracking system against the COVID-19 virus, COVID-19 cases. But as Dr. Lee explained, such data platform help us to develop a new tracking system very quickly. As far as I know, it took less than 2 weeks to develop this tracking systems. So we don't know what kind of crisis we will have in the future. So now, if a city develop, so how to say, good data platform and good sensor platform and good other platforms, then it strengthens cities' capability to respond to any kind of crisis. So, so this is another contribution by our data platform. So. So data platform not only help not only government to develop apps, but it also contributed to private companies to develop good apps. So these apps are about these apps are providing COVID-19 patients' movement information. But as you can see, private app shows better performance in terms of download and in terms of evaluation. So. But so with this data platform, the government developed a new application itself. Also, government enabled private industry to develop new tools in fighting against the COVID-19. Also, smart city help many workers to work at home. So as you can see, not only big companies, but mid and small size companies also started smart working program. So it also helped us to make our society intact. Also, online education help students to stay at home and at the same time keep their learning at home. That is online education's approach. So finally, I'd like to give the future of smart city, future direction of smart city development. So I'm now in charge of designing new national pilot city in Busan. The pilot city's vision is to be a world's first augmented city. Augmented city means that smart city augment the strengthen each citizen's physical capability and cognitive capability with emerging technologies like robot and AR, VR. So with such technologies, augmented technology can help us to prevent new crisis spreading. So I'd like to end with 4 strategies we have developed for our national pilot city. Strategy 1 is to develop platform of platforms. So data sharing and resource sharing strengthen cities and citizens' ability to fight against any crisis. The second is to develop new data architecture, not only protect personal data, but also we try to build a new system that can help us to represent each person's data in a balanced way. So we want to harmonize protection and the use of data on the new data architecture. Third one is to merge cyber and the physical society. So digital twin is very famous for in this respect. Finally, we want to make the basis for robot-friendly city. So if we can use robots, then we can more effectively deal with many crises, including COVID-19 pandemic. So, but it is difficult to use in existing cities. So we try to find the new urban infrastructure model and new urban facility that can help robots to work better. So thank you for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson Young. Now I would like to invite Dr. Myonga Hung. Dr. Myonga, please unmute.
Yeah, hello, you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Hello, yeah. My name is Myonga Hong. I'm a director of the NIA, and today I will present Digital New Deal of Korea. Well, the world community is facing an unprecedented crisis with the spread of COVID-19. Well, I think the largest impact is on our economy. So global economic shock caused by the COVID-19 is the worst since the Great Depression of the 1930s. Well, in order to deal with this crisis, Korean government laid out a Korean New Deal, which is a new strategy for national development. It aims to minimize economic shock by creating jobs and also help the country get back onto the normal growth path. And it also aims to build a foundation for adapting to and leading structural changes. Yeah, this is what Korean New Deal looks like. It helps Korea's great transition toward becoming a leading nation. Korean New Deal consists of three elements. One is Digital New Deal, the second one is Green New Deal, and stronger safety net. Well, we have selected 10 major projects for Korean New Deal. For Korean New Deal, for digital one, we have data dam, AI government, smart healthcare. And for Green New Deal, we have green remodeling, energy production, and eco-friendly vehicles. And for the project converging digital and Green New Deal, we have 4 projects, including green and smart school. Well, there are 2 pillars of transformation, Digital New Deal and Green New Deal. You know, digital technologies are key to successful low carbon industry. And we use digital technologies to build a large scale ICT infrastructure. And also we think that this will lead to the achievement of the Green New Deal. And therefore, the digital industry and green industry can be a win-win relationship. There are 4 key areas of the Digital New Deal. The first one is to strengthen DNA ecosystem. DNA stands for data, network, and AI. The second one is digitalize educational infrastructure. The third one is promote non-contact industries. And the fourth one is to digitalize social overhead capital. Well, in the area of strengthening the DNA ecosystem, we have 5 major projects. The first one is to expand the 5G and AI convergence. You know, it is quite necessary to accelerate converging 5G and AI to, create new digital products and services that are closely related to the lives of the citizen. And the second one is data labeling. we build data and open up and use. And for an AI to become smart, it needs a lot of data. Manual data processing is necessary so that AI can understand the content of the data. So it is called out as data labeling. Data labeling can create a lot of jobs because it can be done by both men and women of all ages. The third one is intelligent government. We will implement a cloud-based public working environment. We will move all governmental and public institutions to cloud. And we will build national 5G networks across all government offices. And the fourth one is to build national cybersecurity system. As digital transformation accelerates, cybersecurity threats are likely to increase. So we will reorganize the national cybersecurity system. The fifth one is to operate the Digital Competence Center. We will build Digital Competence Center so that anyone can get the benefit of the digital technologies regardless of income, class of their own. This is about the AI government. We will improve 5G-based network for government work and move all the administrative and public institutions to cloud, and also expand provision of non-contact services. In the area of digitalizing educational infrastructure, we have two main projects. So one is to create digital education environment. We will make a digital education environment so that all elementary, middle, and high schools can receive the same education, both online and offline. And we also will develop online education content. We will implement high-performance Wi-Fi in all classrooms in elementary, middle, and high schools. And also we will install wireless access points in about 12,000 elementary, middle, and high schools. And we hope that will lead to creation of 10,000 new jobs. Well, the area of promoting non-contact industries has come under the spotlight since the pandemic. And we will build a non-contact infrastructure to strengthen a lot of fields which are related to the daily lives of the people. And we will build a smart infrastructure for education and healthcare. And we will expand the remote working for small and medium-sized companies, and we also expand the e-business. Well, last but not least, the area of digitalization of SOC is quite important. We try to use digital technologies when we build a new infrastructure or change management operation framework of the existing ones. So we use digital technologies to enhance safety and management efficiency. Yes, the Korean government will invest $52.8 billion by 2025, and we will also we hope that this will create 900,000 jobs by 2025. Yeah, this is the last slide of my presentation. let me give you some explanations about the requirements for success of the Korean New Deal. You know, we are facing a lot of limitations in implementing the strategy. However, Korean government is trying to take the lead in creating the demand, and we also inject government money to prime the pump. And then with the private sector make investment, we expect fast recovery from recession and solutions to the employment issues. While doing so, there will be discrimination or exclusion within the society. That's why government should try hard to bridge the gap. So I believe that when these three elements are well balanced, Korean Digital New Deal will be successful. And I hope you found what I have shared with you all to be of use and interest. Thank you.
Very interesting. Thank you very much for a great presentation. I would like to invite Sang-Yeon Jang now.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, and we can also see your screen.
Nice to meet everyone. My name is Sang-Yeon Jang. I'm Director of Higher Education and Academic Research and International Cooperation Department at Kyrgyz. Kyrgyz is under the Ministry of Education. We are charging for using ICT in education, national level. First of all, thank you for inviting me, and I'm honored to present at this webinar. My title is Digital Transformation of Education in the COVID-19 Era. I'd like to focus on public infra system for distance learning in the middle of a response to COVID-19 in Korea. This is my content of presentation. Still now, the world is suffering from the COVID-19 pandemic. At the beginning of COVID-19, all school was closed, but Korea successfully in quarantine in a democratic way. Korea's rate of deaths to those of confirmed case was very low. In Korea, we have approximately 10,000 schools in 17 metropolitan and province. 7 of them are special and metropolitan city. So 10 provinces have rural area like CIS country. Korea also more than 70% are mountains. We call before Corona until last year, now after Corona. Humankind has realized tools since the beginning of our existence. Over time, innovation has changed through the tool that we have used. The innovation of tools is the very definition of technology. Today, ICT represents one of the major type of such innovation. For example, the invention of the smartphone has helped to divert us from the use of a personal computer in order to check our emails. We don't have to go to PC. With the development of AI and big data and cloud computing, it is predicted that robot will eventually replace many tasks that humans currently do. It will also be actively used in education. So we have to do digital transformation in education. Even though we try to adapt technology in education, but education is not changed rapidly. However, the result of the coronavirus changed it all at one stroke. As you can see, school has empty lecture rooms. Professor and teacher have to teach with distance and use technology. We cannot help using education technology to distance education. We usually call that is the edutech. So edutech can overcome education limitation about and time and distance and economy, etc. We live in the world of ultra-connected and ultra-intelligent. We should expand the traditional classroom to cyberspace and all rights. I would like to introduce the online school opening decision-making process and preparation in Korea last in March. Korea used to start school in March. The Ministry of Education and the Center for Disease Control closely cooperated and delayed the school opening. The government have decided open school by online class with 3 steps. After 2 weeks of postponing the school opening and 2 weeks later, online school was announced and preparation beginning. And in order to do distance education, the most important thing is the online platform. We have to use online education platform. So we prepared 2 platforms for K-12 online school opening. Our organization, KWPF, was in charge of elementary school, and EBS. EBS is the education broadcast system, was in charge of middle and high school. KWPF used to be charged for using in ICT in education. And also KWPF has various online learning platform and digital textbook and education management information system and education finance management system is the example. From now, I will speak about how to systematically preparation for online classes. But I don't have enough time, so I will explain about main point. The biggest reason for choosing online classes is that 99.7% of homes in Korea can access the internet. As I know already mentioned before presenter. In order for all 6 million students to access at the same time. So the KWPF e-learning site, which was used by 470,000 people, we have to be expanded by 7 times within 2 weeks. We have to be expanded by 300 times within a month. And there are 495 pilot schools for online learning. Teachers and school voluntarily created and operated various services. For online classes, the most important factor is the teacher's capacity. So community was created with one representative teacher in every school. Here, they communicated directly with the Ministry of Education and Kyrgyz and EBS to share their thought and current situation. And we support school on site to share information related to setting up management effectively holding classes online and provide guidelines for online classroom for teacher, 10 rules, for example, attendance and evaluation, etc. And I will explain about type of classes and how to use content at that time. Class type are operated real-time interactive class, like this webinar. So teacher and student use the Zoom and etc. tools. And content-oriented class and task-oriented class. And I will skip more some detail. And Korea Ministry and Kyrgyz also have support college and universities because some college didn't have a learning management system. So we give platform freely and quickly. And we also will construct 10 local support center for college and universities. And finally, we can face various challenges. For example, digital divide and how to support disadvantaged student and technical assistance for students and parents and teachers. But I don't have enough time to, I will skip details. Totally, the conclusion is as follows. The most important thing is that all stakeholders have a consensus that education should not stop. Although facing a crisis, this chance should be used as an opportunity for educational digital transformation. Some people said now is the golden time to innovate and change our education. And also, in order to provide AI education in preparation for the fourth industrial revolution, it must be based on platform and big data. Although it has been equipped with coronavirus, it must be developed as a golden opportunity to implement intelligent, personalized learning. We again realize the importance of international cooperation due to the coronavirus. Therefore, a joint effort should be further strengthened to solve the educational issue of each country. I hope that my presentation has helped you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sang-Yeon Jang, for an interesting presentation. Now I would like to invite Duyon Kim for the presentation.
Can you all guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but can you just say a bit loud?
How is this now?
Yes, this is perfect.
Okay, so my presentation is on the post-COVID-19 smart working environment, in particular, the case of the Korean government and affiliated organizations in general. So let me begin, since we don't have too much time. So let me begin by introducing what we in Korea think about smart work and compared to the world. So the US has the Telework Enhancement Act of 2010 specifying roles, responsibilities, and expectations for all federal executive agencies. So they have that. Japan also has something similar, but I think they've actually announced it during in their 2018 Information and Communication White Paper, which views telework as a flexible way of working through ICT. So Korea is a very similar, but I think we take a little bit more of a broader approach. So we think of it as a working arrangement, not limited by time and space, including working from home, working on the move, by utilization of ICT. And the Ministry of Interior and Safety also established many smart work centers that use actually based on this principle. So there are many different types of smart work as well. As you can see, and smart work center is one of them. We can also use mobile offices, working at home, smart office, and flexible working hours. Okay, so in terms of the post-COVID-19 working environment, one of the biggest changes that happened in Korea was that the government mandated during the peak pandemic, I think February, March, and and April of this year, which was one of our very first big outbreak, and you heard that from the previous presentation as well. 1/3 of the workforce was required to work at home, and at the same time, we also expanded and recommended for people to use smartphone centers close to their home or business trip locations if needed. And this actually required, as you know, Korea government normally has a very strict requirement, especially in terms of security, when you want to work outside or when you want to work outside of the normal government network. So we really needed to increase our non-face-to-face working system. And the basic premise of the non-face-to-face work system in Korea is use of government VPN. And as you know, VPN actually establishes a secure one-to-one connection between your network.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but can you please be a little bit more loud so that our interpreters will hear and then they can translate.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to boost the mic.
Mm-hmm.
How about now?
This is perfect. Perfect.
Okay. At any rate, so at the height of the pandemic and social distance measures, which is, as I mentioned, was before the first outbreak, government VPN subscribers increased by 358%, and the actual users using government VPN increased nearly 800%. At the same time, we practiced the social distancing measure in the workplace, where in all meeting rooms in government offices and smart work centers have increased seating spacing, also alternating seating with blocks in place, and with mandatory use of masks as well. So this next slide shows you a basic diagram of our non-face-to-work system. As you can see on top, we have government network on the left, and internet and mobile on the right. And the connecting path here, as you can see, it depends depending on where you are. For example, when you're on business trips or when you're in the field, when you're home, is the blue arrow you see here through our government VPN. And it connects directly to your administrative information system of Korea, and where you can access web office for editing documents, G Drive, which is our own version of the government drive, cloud drive, and of course our major on-not government work system. And in the internet, we also provide government email and website usage. Mobile actually is a separate platform in Korea. We have what we call the Mobile Electronic Government Common Infrastructure, which is actually a suite of security apps that needs to be installed on your mobile device to be able to use all of our e-government related apps. So if you're in the office, you can, with the web editing, you can simultaneously edit, providing immediate feedback. So the seating arrangements is right. One thing to say about this is actually not everything here is being implemented, but this is one of the, I guess, future aspects that we want to work towards. And free seating is one of those things. Right now, most seats are usually very fixed, but once we get all this system going, we are trying to make it a more free seating environment. And anyway, as you can see, meetings can be done paperless meetings using PC laptops, also supporting immediate reporting. On-site, you can use portable devices and of course 5G. 5G is upcoming, but it's one of our pilot projects. And you can use, you can also use memo reporting or document approval and all those stuff. And the home, very similar to as well, but this is mostly using PC and not too many portable devices, but mostly PCs and laptops with GPU VPN installed. So in the beginning, GVPN was actually one of those niche systems which wasn't really utilized very much by the Korean government. And from what I know, each department maybe had one notebook that they could take outside and had GVPN clearance and approval. So when this working at home became a huge policy and direction that we were going towards, we needed to greatly improve network infrastructure, especially in terms of providing GVPN services. So this is one of the things that was ongoing with our government data center. Now I'm going to give you a brief overview of our government video conferencing system, which is a very important component of a non-face-to-face working environment. For the government of Korea, we have basically two conferencing VC systems. One is the government video conferencing, what we call common infrastructure, and the other is the Unnara PC video conferencing system. So the common infrastructure mostly focuses on hardware codecs and hardware video conferencing rooms with hardware codecs. And both actually systems were developed in 2013. And the Unnara EMPC video conference system is actually a software-based solution, and it has that, and it connects all government officials and agencies as well. But it actually has two components. One system dedicated solely to be used within the government network, and one system to be used on the internet to use with other public agencies and some guest participation from outside as well. For now, though, most of these are kind of closed systems as the National Intelligence Service in Korea. We have to go through all of the security checks to be able to implement these systems. But in terms of the hardware of our VC common infrastructure, we have nearly 800 VC rooms that are connected here, and it encompasses almost all central government and let's see, local autonomies, including all of our 17 municipalities and provinces. The software system allows for thousands of users and thousands of concurrent users as well. This is something that usually is used for people and agencies that do not have dedicated VC rooms. So in terms of video conference usage, we saw a great uptake in the use of VC common infrastructure and Unnara EMPC, respectively 475% and 326% at the height of the pandemic and social distancing era, which around, I'd say, February, March, and a bit of April. At the same time, we also had a huge uptake in different agencies trying to build VC rooms and connect to our government VC infrastructures, as many of the important face-to-face meetings, including our public agency, I'd say, management evaluation was also conducted, which was normally conducted face-to-face, were all transitioned online as well. So many agencies were kind of forced to create VC rooms. So we have over 166 newly created issues just this year. At the same time, with the explosion of users on the PC platform, we had to renegotiate extra licenses for more subscribers and concurrent users for the Annara PC solution as well. And in terms of, I'd say, awareness and the satisfaction that people have over the VC, I've actually been in charge of our VC common infrastructure for a few years, and we do surveys every year. And just this year's survey, which actually just ended a few weeks ago, we've actually asked our respondents to compare how they felt about video conferencing before and after COVID. And as you can see, an overwhelming majority, 84.4%, that they were very satisfied or very satisfied with the use of VC. So we're seeing a lot of uptake, and people are becoming more and more used to the use of VC, whereas in before, a lot of people actually complained about how actual face-to-face meetings was probably more effective, and they prefer those things as well. And this has also has to do with how the Korean working culture is very centered around face-to-face meetings. Anyway, to close off my presentation, I'm just going to introduce some projects that we're working on for smart work environment. One of these is desktop as a service transition for internet PCs in government offices. Right now, in government offices, using let's say PC usage in the government, actually each civil servant has two separate PCs. One PC that connects directly to their internal government network, and one PC connected to the internet. So this is kind of not very efficient, and also not very cost effective. And so right now we have a pilot project, ongoing pilot project that targets around 200 users, and we're trying to transition into a virtual environment where we use desktop as a service to simulate another OS on top of the host OS that connects to the internet. So we only have to use one PC. And we're in the process of analyzing the viabilities of open source OS and software for this approach. Another one I can say is we have also a huge project that supports constructing VC systems and rooms for especially targeting SMEs and startups so that they can actually work better in the non-face-to-face working environment. So we have overall, we're targeting over 1,500 VC systems that will be built in strategic business hubs, including technoparks, industry alliance and association headquarters, and etc. We have about 1,500 small to medium-sized VC rooms with 5 large VC rooms for large-scale international events and all those kind of things. So this project supports funding for VC equipment, software solutions, smart work booth, etc. And this is an extra slide that I just put in. And this is one of the projects to expand the government VC common infrastructure in 2021. I mentioned before that at this point, the government common infrastructure is mostly centered around hardware-based VC rooms, and it has very limitations in how we connect with PC and mobile. So from 2021, we are hoping to use HTML5 capable web browsers with the industry standard WebRTC protocol, so to support every PC and mobile platforms to connect and use WebRTC to connect to hardware and software. So we're also looking to expand capacity to allow up to 1,400 concurrent connections using a multi-point control unit, which is a hardware unit. But that's using it's a centralized approach using MCU. But we are going to use a hybrid approach where WebRTC clients can connect to each other on a near infinite basis, as there's no restrictions in the number of users. And we're also using a hybrid method that uses the SFU actually method, which uses instead of at this time, there are different ways of implementing multi-point VC. One method is the MCU method, which actually both our hardware and also Onara our software-based VC also uses the same approach, wherein one host actually controls all of the say, video and multimedia data. So it does all the encoding and decoding as well, which is actually very heavy use in terms of resources. The SFU method actually only transmits the data streams to different, and it directs the data streams to different things, different users. So it doesn't involve actual use of CPU resources that much, which actually is more of a recent thing. And so I believe with the use of a hybrid system, we'll be able to allow many more users to use more high quality and standard way of DC. Anyway, there's also an ISP, information strategy planning, or BPR, depending on how you look at it, that has been done to assess how to change the Korean government way of working to be more smart and to allow for more flexible use of systems. And it's actually centered around, I believe, while the result hasn't fully been publicized, one of the key aspects is the use of the concept of unified communication. So we're also looking to connect our WebRTC protocol-enabled DC common infrastructure to support unified communication by linking to many messengers apps that are being used by our public servants. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for an interesting presentation. And I would like to thank all the speakers for actually answering all the questions. I can see that they have almost answered all the questions from social media and also from Zoom. And then there are so much interest I can see, and a lot of questions are coming. So there is one question which is remaining. Are you willing to share with your digital solutions for education where you have AI? If possible, send us more detailed information about applying AI in education, please. Real practical examples. Any speaker would like to share anything on use of AI in the education sector?
I'd like to answer. My organization is under the Ministry of Education, and we have several educational management system. For example, education national education information system that is the accumulate educational data on system. So we now study and research to predict some dropout rate of school. For example, we analyze some educational data. For example, they score and attendance rate and a relationship between student. Then we use the AI algorithm, for example, some deep learning or something. Then we can predict the student to drop out some student, and also we some recommend the system in learning education content. So if student under the goal level, then we can recommend the adapted content for student. we use the AI algorithm in their system.
Thank you very much. There is one question on social media. Can you explain more about the AI government? Any speaker, if you want to comment.
Yeah, I like to answer. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, Korean e-government has been recognized as a highly advanced one, but we still face some limitations. As Korea is so focused on enforcing security policies, so the networks in the government are separated into one for internal and the other one for external work. So this is causing a lot of inconvenience and make it difficult to respond fast to any you know, new demand. So we're going to move all administrative and public institutions to cloud, and you know, we will use you know, expand using the cloud to build a 5G national network access, you know, for all government offices. Yeah, that's what we are, you know, trying to do for the AI government.
Thank you very much. That's very, very interesting. There is another question on social media. Can you explain about the data dam?
Yeah, let me explain more about that. You know, data dam project is to build something like the Hoover Dam in the Great Depression. And, you know, back then, infrastructure contributed to economic productivity and employment. Just like that, we built a data dam project, you know, to develop new services based on data, and such as a building data labeling project, as I explained during my presentation, and also building data platforms. So we think that data will form the base for, you know, in preparation for the next generation, as a high-speed internet did in the past. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. There are more questions coming, but we can follow up afterwards because of the time limitations. We cannot pop all the questions, but we can follow up. We can ask the speakers, and then we can send to the respective audience. Thank you to all our speakers and to everyone who has tuned in from around the world to support this incredible discussion today. The learnings we can take from the Korean experience are significant, and we greatly appreciate everyone who has taken the time to join us today and share experience and wisdom. May I please invite Professor Dr. Jean-Pierre Offred, President of International Academy of CIO, to offer some closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Shaukat. And thank you to the National Information Society Agency for coordinating the speakers and for all of the wonderful speakers and their insights on the Korean experience. Thank you also to World Bank, University of Central Asia, UNDP, and State Committee on ICT of Kyrgyzstan. And especially many thanks for all of you for having joined today and this evening. Thank you, Shaukat.
Thank you, Alfred. I would like to now close today's session by echoing the appreciation for all involved in making today happen. We started today by highlighting the partnership that has made today's event possible between the National Information Society Agency of Korea, State Committee for Information Technology and Communications, the International Academy of CIO, the World Bank, United Nations Development Program, and the University of Central Asia. In my role as CIO at UCA, I am well aware of the power of digital technology to transform organizations, economies, and lives. I feel fortunate and honored to be able to work with like-minded organizations to help make digital transformation a reality for the region of Central Asia. It is humbling to learn from all of you today and I hope these conversations continue in many forms in the future. To all of you who have tuned in to this event, we bid you farewell. Please stay safe and please look out for more events from all of the partners here today, in particularly further events in the workshop series led by the World Bank's Digital Resilience Program. Thank you, everyone, and have a very nice day and good afternoon to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.